this is Sarah Soiled Plant and welcome back to my channel. I have so much potting up to do. I have a bunch of cuttings and some repottings and things that need to get done. So I figured now would be a good time to do a Q&A, kind of catch you up on what's going on with me and everything. So let's get into planting up these things here. I'm going to start with the one that's, I presume, is the most dire. This is my Peperomia peppermill. It is shooting off flowers like crazy. It loses leaves all the time. It's a little bunchy. So I'm going to repot this and put this in some better soil than what it came with, and hopefully that will solve some of the problems I've been having with it drying out way too quickly. And with this one, hopefully I'll reuse the pot. So I want to do a little jiggle here and see how it's doing. Well, right now the soil looks great. Honestly, the soil seems very hydrated and wonderful and not dried out at all. So clearly that was just a me watering issue, and I just need to water it better and more consistently. But I think it's fine. That's a great way to start off a repotting video, is not repotting anything. But it's a good thing that it's healthy, right? So I guess we'll nix that guy. Let's see, the next one I think would be a good idea is probably my Gloriosum. This has been wanting to be in a plant or in a pot for a good long time, so we'll start with that one. That seems like a good option. It's gonna take some finessing to get this out because there's a little leaf in there that was stuck. All right, we're past the hard part. Now it's just wiggling out. There we go. Perfect. All right, this root system right here on this one definitely is rotten, but it's got healthy roots, so I'm just gonna cut off the bad parts here. And we should be good. That one is all set and ready. It's got a growth point coming up, which is exciting. Let's see if I can wipe off some of the sliminess on there. All right, so that's one. This one here has not rooted yet, so that one will go straight back into the jar I got it from. But this one is doing fantastic and has a metric ton of roots, which are actually growing like all in the wrong direction, so this will be fun to plant. That's the risk you take when you leave them in water too long, but I will definitely wipe this off and put this in a nice pot along with the other one, and I think that'll be a nice full plant. This is technically a hanging pot, so that's why it's round on the bottom and it has like the little things, but it's a little bit wider and shallower than most of my other pots, so I think I'm just gonna pot it in this and just have it be in a hanging pot that's not hanging. All right, plant one. I'm going to make sure the roots are nice and deep into the bottom and just rest it for right now because I've got to get this behemoth in there. Getting all the slimy stuff off that has the potential to cause rot. It's kind of weird. Some of these roots look slimy and weird, but then there's healthy roots growing past it, so I think it's fine. Let's hope. I'm not like a Gloriosum expert, so I'm not 100% sure if that's normal or not, but I'm gonna plant this just like this. I'm gonna make sure this one's on the edge because it's growing this way. This new growth is coming out that way. So just to save it a little bit of time before it has to be repotted in the future, I am going to have it go this way. Put that one on this side just to even out the pot. Let me pile on, ooh, just so I can pack those roots down. And I missed the pot entirely. Lovely. If you hear scratching, that's Miss Maggie. She got a brand new box. Every once in a while when I get a box from any sort of delivery, I will check to see if it's one that they like, and Maggie has been loving the box that I got recently. So she goes in there and like scratches before she lays down. It's really cute. All right, I think that's enough soil. Pack it in a little bit. Cute. All right. So that is one. It's a little row of Gloriosum there. So we'll see how that does. I'm hoping all of the other single ones root soon. I've got, I think, 3 additional that do not have any roots yet. So I'm gonna put all of those in the same jar and hopefully they will root or encourage each other to root. We will see. So yesterday, about 24 hours ago, I posted a Q&A sort of prompt on my Instagram story. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I will put the handle down below. I am a very infrequent poster, but if there's any sort of immediate news about anything, I usually put it over there. So the first question I will cover is, how is my basement doing? I would say the basement's doing okay. The Pothos is going to be next. The last time I spoke about this, I talked about how terrible the plumber was and basically how I was going to go through insurance. And it's finally at the point where insurance was willing to sort of reimburse me for the damage done to the basement and cover how much it would cost to replace. I'm definitely past the difficult points. I got all of the asbestos tile that was down there taken out, and that was a huge relief. It took like 4 days to take everything out because almost every square inch of my basement was covered in asbestos tile, or used to be covered in asbestos tile. They had to rip out a few things. They did ask, like, hey, there is asbestos under here. We'd have to remove that in order to get rid of it. And I said, go for it. You know, there was nothing kind of in the basement that was worth salvaging in order to avoid getting the asbestos tile. I do have a kind of built-in bar that's really nice, but they were able to kind of like shimmy the pieces out and kind of scrape underneath it in order to get those out. Whereas I had some like extra faux brick on the little hearth that they had and behind the bar, but that was not worth keeping, so I said go ahead and get rid of it. So I guess if I backtrack a little bit, as soon as I decided to go through insurance, I had people come over to kind of put dehumidifiers down there and fans in order to get all the moisture out of the flooring as much as they could. They put them all down there, and then about 4 days later they stopped by again to take moisture readings. It was still too high, and then they would periodically come back. But I had those in my basement for 8 days to get rid of all of the moisture in the air down there, which was amazing. I'm sure my electric bills were a little higher at that point because of all of the fans and dehumidifiers running just all the time. After that, they removed the flooring that they could remove that didn't have the asbestos underneath. I accidentally pulled this one up and it's got a squirrely, stiff root that is just not wanting it to go back under. Come on, I'm gonna stamp it down a little bit. Wonderful, we'll get just a little bit more soil and that one will be done. Pull up a big old chunk of worm castings. Then after they removed what they could, they also took out like a few pieces of drywall also. After that was done, the abatement company came in, and they're the ones who were getting rid of the asbestos tile. They're for like major hazards and things, and they do proper disposal. So they came out, they had to get a quote, had to get it approved by insurance, and then they had to schedule to come in, like the whole process. So once the abatement was scheduled, I was able to have an assessor come out and look at the basement as it was before everything was ripped out. And then the abatement company came in, and they took 4 days to remove all of the asbestos tile and all the surrounding things that were related to it. And then after that, I had the assessor come back, and then they messaged insurance, and insurance then mailed me the check for the amount it would take to replace my basement as it was, minus my deductible. And the whole process from start to finish was from February 27th to May 5th. If that gives you any indication of how long this process was. I'm sure some things could have been done quicker if I knew what I was doing in this scenario and knew kind of like the right people to call at the right time and be ahead of time and everything. So I'll take some blame for that taking so long, but it did take a long time to get all of this done. But I did get mailed the check last week, and now hopefully I can go about sort of making repairs piecemeal as I see, like, as I kind of decide what I want to do with the basement. I'll fix it in due time. Next, I'm going to pot up this Philodendron Majesty. It's got lovely roots and it's got new growth, which means it needs to be in a pot. I'm going to pot this one up in this here. It's going to be nice and hefty for when this gets big. So I'll be able to, you know, it won't be top heavy, which is a problem with a lot of my plants sometimes. Make sure it's in the middle of the pot. Tamp it down a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit more soil on the top. It is still a little wobbly, but when I water it and it settles in, it'll kind of get its grip in the pot. Lovely. I love when they're easy. When they're in water, it's so easy just to put them in soil. There's not a lot of like cleaning and deconstructing you have to do. It's just so easy to pot them up once they are out of the water. Next question, what is my least favorite plant that I have? It's actually one that I threw away this morning. I was trying to adjust it. It was starting to lean in the pot. It was my Sansevieria trifasciata, I believe it's called. but it was leaning and looked annoying. It kept losing leaves because it was underwater, and then I watered it and it started dropping leaves like crazy. And it started leaning in the pot very severely, almost to where it was like leaning on the side of the pot. And I was trying to jostle it and point it upward, and it just snapped in my hand because I was being too aggressive with it. And honestly, I'm kind of relieved because I've been hating looking at that plant. That was one that I got from IKEA, you know, eons ago. So it's gone. Fine. One Sansevieria down. I feel like I'm losing Sansevieria very quickly, and I don't know how to stop like killing Sansevieria for some reason. Like, Sansevieria are great plants, but sometimes they just die and there's not much you can do about it. And it's just the circle of life when it comes to plants. So that's definitely my least favorite. When it comes to plants that I didn't crack in half this morning, I'm not sure which is my least favorite. I'm gonna say my angel wing begonia, and that is because it is growing really long and scraggly, and it doesn't look cute anymore, and its leaves are becoming transparent. It's just, so many things that are wrong with that plant. And honestly, it's fine. I'm not really upset about the fact that it's long and not cute, but at the same time, it's like, I don't really like looking at it. I'll keep it, and it propagates really well, so if I wanted to make it look better, I definitely could. I just haven't. So there you go. I gave you 2 answers. I hope that's good enough. These are so cute. These are my string of hearts. I take propagations pretty frequently because as they get too long, the cats start chewing on them. So I kind of have to chop and prop them, and they do root pretty well. Their roots are teeny tiny, you know, itty bitty compared to the size of the plant. So I'm gonna bury them kind of as deep as, you know, seems appropriate. And I will put them in here. Like, even when the roots are plentiful, they are not very big. So what I do then is just make sure I keep it in a nice little shallow pot, and it'll be all right. What is going on? I just want to make sure that I'm not like accidentally planting something I shouldn't be planting in the right direction. I just dropped them all. This is dead, or could be dead, or should be dead. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top off, and then I'll just poke that in the soil on the very top, and it'll be all right. And if it grows, it grows. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I kind of love these plants for that reason, because they grow so quickly that even if sections of it die, it's like, meh, it'll grow again. You can cut off a new piece and plant it and stick it directly in the soil, kind of like the butterfly method, where the hearts are kind of flat up against the soil and that little node that's in between is kind of touching the top of the soil. I'd say my take rate when I do that is probably like 50-50, which, considering how little effort it takes, is kind of nice. Okay, so I've got a few that didn't quite make it in the pot and fell out, so let me put that one in there like that. Okay, let's put soil on this side, make sure it's nice and even, put it down. If I see any little roots still sticking up, I'll stick it back in the soil with my finger and just kind of press it in. Make sure I'm not leaving anybody behind. Nope, this one is leaning all kinds of weird ways. The other thing about these, they are so tangly. I feel like I'd breathe and they knot. That's definitely one bad thing about string of hearts, is they get knotted up really easily. All right, and then I have my nice little top with my 2 little hearts, and I am going to just stick that directly in the soil. I'll put it right in the middle, give it the best chance of survival here. And there we go. I'll be sure to water all of these when they are done, but that is a nice little string of hearts. There's actually a ton of strings on this, more than some of my string of hearts. Like this one over here, it is like 5 strings, and this is a lot more. So this might be a new gigantic string of hearts in a little bit, so that'll be fun to see. The next question, how do you keep Hoyas alive? Mine are dying. Oh man, I wish I knew how to keep Hoyas alive. I think for me, the thing that has helped the most is giving it the best sun humanly possible. Most of my Hoyas are in a south-facing window, and so it gets some direct sun, but I would definitely say let it dry out between waterings, but don't let it stay dry. You know, you want to make sure that the soil doesn't get compacted or too dried out, because they do lose leaves very quickly if they dry out too much. So I would say just pick up the pot, and if the pot feels like, oh, there's no water in it, then water it. I'm not super precise with that, but you can tell if it's like, oh, there is no water in here versus like, oh, it seems light. Like they're very different. You pick it up and it feels like air as opposed to like having any weight to it. So I would say wait for it to like get really light and then water it thoroughly. I usually water mine like every 2 weeks, week and a half. And then I give them as much light as humanly possible. And they seem really happy with that. I have managed to kill Hoya in the past, but I feel like that was just like trial and error, and I'm 100% sure it was due to lack of sunlight. This is not going to come out. It's got the little narrow neck and it's being difficult. Let me see if I can pull out like one at a time, maybe. Ooh, there we go. Okay, we got one of the knots out, so now there we go, it all came out. I had to get like one of the little node nubs like through the arch of the neck before it would actually come out, so it did all come out. This is a Philodendron Splendid, by the way. But yeah, I said this already, but like just to summarize, Hoya, as much sun as you possibly can, water it only after it's dried out, almost all the way. This one has a bunch of roots all knotted up together and a bunch of babies on the way, new leaves. So it's very difficult to kind of get them out of each other because they're all interwoven. Ooh, there's one. Here we got one Philodendron Splendid with a little baby on the way. So I will stick her in there right now. Ooh, okay, okay, here's another one with another little baby on the way. It looks like we have 3 different cuttings, and this one also has a little baby on the way. Fewer roots than the other ones, but that's okay. We love her just the same. She's a smaller leaf, so that's probably why. And I got you all dirty. You don't look cute when you're all dirty. But I think I'm going to do 3 in this pot and then 3 in another pot, and that means technically I will have 3 Philodendron Splendid plants, which is, I love this plant so much. I think it's probably top, do I want to say top 5? It's probably top 5. That's hard, because then I think of all the plants that would be better than it, or I'd like rank higher. It's difficult. So I will just say like, sure, top 5, but don't make me tell you what other plants are in the top 5 because I wouldn't be able to. All right, this is the last question I got, and then I'll just go into some general life updates. The next question is, will you try to use plant apps that identify plants and their needs? They seem pretty scammy. That's hard because every time I've ever downloaded one, I usually get frustrated with it and delete it right away. It never quite is what it cracks up to be. It's not that good at identifying anything. I've seen other people on YouTube make videos about different plant apps that are available, usually the ones that are free. Usually, from what I've kind of seen, is that they are for people who are so basic with plants that you just need to get in the ballpark. You don't need to be even precise. I remember trying to point it at just like a golden pothos, like this one over here, and it knew that one, or it knew like it was like pothos, but if I pointed it at like anything more complicated, it wouldn't know what it is. Now, I am curious how good they are with outdoor plants, because I need some help identifying outdoor plants, and I feel like there's more demand for outdoor plant identification, especially like, you know, poison ivy and things like that, but for other things too, like mushrooms and whatever. I don't know if there's things like that that are better. As far as them being scammy, like, if you think downloading something and being a waste of your time is a scam, sure, but I don't think they're trying to pretend to be anything they're not. So do I use them? No. Do I plan on ever using them? No. I honestly think like a Google reverse image search would be better, and that's unreliable. So if that tells you anything about my faith in them being good, that tells you kind of what you need to know. Cute! Look at this one. It's got 3 plants in it, and it's going to be epic. Once it starts growing up, I'll have to put a pole in there somewhere because this is definitely a vining plant, but I need a pot for the remaining 3. These ones don't have nearly as many roots, so I'll put it in a smaller pot. I have a feeling I'm going to have to up-pot this pretty soon, but that's okay. I don't mind. Especially, I don't want to drown these roots either. And this new growth is already sort of rotting, and that's probably because it's, you know, trying to grow a leaf in water, and it doesn't want to grow a leaf in water. So hopefully putting it in soil will improve its, you know, health and everything, and the next leaves will come out great. Oh my gosh, this one looks, this is so strange. These are like super interwoven. I just snapped a root. No! Now, this is weird because these are connected by a root and I cannot tell which one actually grew the root. It looks like it's growing out of both. There we go. It was stuck in the crevice of this one. Oh no, I've got this so dirty. Let me go rinse these off in water real quick, just so they're not covered in dirt. All right, there we go. I'm gonna start putting these in there and they'll just end up getting all tangled up all over again. But that's okay, because they'll be in soil and much happier. All right, so general life updates with me. Press these into place and kind of make sure they are good and cemented in place. And do a little tiny like sprinkling on the top. All right, plant number 2 of the Philodendron Splendid is done. So next let's do the Philodendron 69686. So many floral nectaries. This one has not rooted yet, but I'm gonna stick it in here anyway. And this one is the big one with all of the roots. This might be too stressful on the plant, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I've got roots coming from here and here, so I am going to separate them. Give it a nice little chop. That leaf might end up dying on the way out, but that's okay. It's all good. Put that in there, and then I will cut some of this excess off just so it's not crowding the pot for no reason. And all these roots are sticking straight up. So funny. I'm gonna have to like bend them downwards and get them to grow down, which shouldn't be too bad. This one looks like an octopus, so that's gonna be fun. Yeah, as far as general updates with me, things are going well. I'm trying to do sort of piecemeal upgrades to the house. It's taking a long time, and with all the basement stuff, I didn't know what kind of financial position I would be in after the fact, so we will see how, you know, everything shakes out with having to replace stuff in the basement. But I'm hoping to like build an outdoor patio that's covered, so hopefully some of these plants can get some good outdoor sunlight in the summertime. That is the goal. And also in the winter, it could double as a carport, so I would have 2 covered parking spaces, which would be great for the winter because Michigan winters are not pleasant, and if there's snow, there's usually a lot of snow. And scraping off my car is like, I guess technically scraping off my car is better than shoveling, but not by much. That one's done, and then there's only one left, which is my little Syngonium red arrow. Oh, I didn't mention what this was. This is a Philodendron 69686. So one thing funny that happened to me, I feel terrible because the plant that I gave my boyfriend, that's like my signature go-to. It's like, I love you, I care about you, friends, relationships, family. Like, my way of saying I love you is to gift plants now. This is a new development since I've gotten super into houseplants, but that is my new thing, is I will gift plants. Like if you're having a bad day, something like that, I want to give out plants. And I gave my boyfriend a plant. I gave him a cutting of my Monstera deliciosa. It's usually like a crowd pleaser for guys. They just love those plants for whatever reason. And, you know, it's easy to grow. It's not going to be complicated for him. And go figure, I gave him a plant that was riddled with spider mites. And he lost one leaf like immediately after getting it. And it's stabilized a little bit. It's not growing right now because it was fighting off the bugs. But it definitely had spider mites. I looked at him, I saw webbing on him after, you know, he had it for a few weeks. I was like, huh, this looks weird. And I went over there and like, spider mites. Of course it had spider mites. So I did like a full treatment on it, and I did like the rubbing alcohol and water, and I used a cotton swab and just like soaked the leaf down and got every nook and cranny. And he did the same treatment. He, you know, I told him what I did, and he did the same treatment like 2 or 3 more times. And I think it's okay now, but this poor plant is just like, just trying to survive and be a good present. And I promised I would give him another plant, just like one that's not disease ridden. So we will see if I can give him a plant. Maybe not one of these, I'm not sure. The golden pothos is the only one I have, and that's a cutting from my sister's plant. So I'd have to grow a little bit more for me to take propagations of that. And the other stuff is kind of either more difficult or finicky. This one might be a good option, but I kind of want like a second plant of that, and I don't have one currently. So I don't know. We'll see what I give him. Maybe he'll get some pothos cuttings, something like that. But yes, I feel deep, immense shame when I give someone gifts and they die, you know, go figure. I will definitely make sure I water all of these and put them in their new spots and see how they do and grow and be beautiful. I'm so excited about this Philodendron Splendid, how I have 3 plants of this now. I am elated. They are so cute and they grow so well. So I'm excited to have like all of these, honestly. I'd like to end this video talking about my upload schedule. I have been incredibly inconsistent recently, and just with stress and plans and all this stuff, I just have not had time to sort of sit down and film and do the editing for it. It takes me a little while to do that. I'm gonna buy new editing software that will hopefully be a little more intuitive than the stuff I'm using. But I think my once weekly upload schedule is too hard for me to keep up with right now. I might do one every week if I have the energy and all of that, but this summer in particular, I've got so many projects, plans. I haven't gone on a vacation in a long time, and I would definitely love to go on like a true vacation. I've loved visiting family and have plans to probably do that again, but I just want to have like a true vacation where I'm sitting on a beach, or I'm like visiting a new city, or like museums, going on hikes, like whatever I end up doing, I'd like to take like a true vacation. But I think for the near term, until I kind of get a better grasp on how everything's going to go with my schedule and all that stuff, I think I'm going to be posting bi-weekly now. So I'll be still posting on Thursdays, and they will drop at noon Eastern time, but they're going to be every other week, at least probably throughout the summertime, just because the nice weather is so rare up here that I am going to take advantage every time it's nice out. And I've got a lot of gardening that I'm trying to do, so I don't really want to do videos on gardening though, because I feel like they're just not as interesting for people to watch. I know when I've seen other channels delve into gardening, the gardening videos get like 1/3 of the views, so I don't think people generally like that as much. And if I'm only posting content every other week, I don't want one of the videos to be really unpopular with you guys. So I hope the every other week posting schedule is okay for everybody. I have literally gotten 0 complaints or 0 inquiries saying like, hey, where are you? Or why aren't you posting? Are you okay? Like, I'm fine, everything's fine, and no one has given me any grief about being irregular in my posting schedule. So this is not coming from a place of like defensiveness. This is coming from a place of like, I just want to let you guys know that that is the plan going forward, to post every other Thursday instead of every week, just so that you can set your expectations if you do want to follow sort of what's going on. And of course, Maggie is here just for the final outro of the video. She is so beautiful and she's nice and full. She got dinner right before this so that she wouldn't be quite as loud and commotion-y. I hope you enjoyed this update video and all the potting up and seeing sort of the progress on some of these cuttings I've had. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos from me and see when I post, you can always subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram. I don't post there very often, but I do post there, and if there's any massive updates or Q&As and things like that, I will generally post them over there. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will catch you next time. Bye! What are you doing? What is this? You're goofy. You're goofy. What are you doing? Wow. I'm not gonna let you claw my face. That is not the kind of relationship we have.